7:40, coming up towards 7:41 in Trinidad and Tobago. Well, for our last segment, we're talking football, indeed the business of football, and the topic is about creating that $1 million footballer, because you hear the astronomical sums that are being traded to acquire the best footballing talent ahead of the new European season, the English Premier League season, and indeed for clubs here in Trinidad and Tobago, many of them survive on the basis of being able to develop talent that could earn big money outside. Kenwin Jones comes to mind immediately as someone who would have been produced by W Connection. Sadly, David John Williams would have passed not too long ago. Well, we're joined now by Anton Corneal. He's the TTFA Technical Director, former national player himself. Also with us is Michael Johnson, who is an England national youth team coach. And of course, all of England are celebrating the triumph of their women's team in the Euro finals over Germany on Sunday. There's always this fixation about beating Germany. Well, they got the better of Germany by 2-1. He's speaking to us from Nottingham, which is an important city for European football and English football. Notts County were one of the founding members of the English Football League way back in the 1880s. And of course, Nottingham Forest are back in the big time, former European champions themselves. Good morning to the two gentlemen. Thanks very much for taking the time to be with us. So, Anton, the event is coming up on the 6th of August, which will be on Saturday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Tell us what is going to be happening for those who would like to attend the event. Good morning to you, Anton.
Good morning to you, Fazeer. Good morning, Michael. All your viewers. I think it's going to be an event where we can really go and look at all the different areas that are important in developing a player. We know it's not just one area. We know it's just not one stakeholder. It's so many different areas that we have to make sure is right. That player pathway, the type of environment you create. It's going to be a lovely discussion because it's going to be compare and contrast a Trinidad or a Caribbean country compared to what happens in Europe or other parts of the world. So that type discussion I also think is important because it gives us a realistic side of what needs to be done and then how long does it need to be done, because there's no magic formula where you just produce a player in one season or 2 seasons. So it's really going to be a good conversation.
And before I bring Michael Johnson with the discussion, and I'm sure Michael must be tired of the constant references to the American sprinter Michael Johnson, and might be asked how many times he would have run the 400 meters or the 200 meters. Just to let you know, if you want to get more information on the event, it's of course being arranged by the website www.wired868.com. The cost for the event is $100. You could get more information by calling 714-5278. That's 714-5278, or going to the website wired868.com for more information. Well, it's early afternoon in the United Kingdom, in Nottingham, where Michael Johnson is joining us this morning. Mr. Johnson, very good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time. What do you hope to impart in that discussion that will take place on Saturday? Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you.
Well, first of all, good morning to Anton and good morning to you, sir. Good morning to all your listeners and viewers. It's great to be part of such a wonderful opportunity to depart so much information on an area of the world that I'm very passionate about. What I would say is that there's a holistic approach to creating the play. It's not just what we see in terms of what's on the grass. What is the lifestyle of the player? What is the characteristics of the player? Does the player possess hunger? Because without the hunger, without the love for the game, it doesn't really matter. The love and the hunger gives you a greater opportunity because you're quicker and more desirable to coach. You want to learn more. You want to progress further. So it's not just in terms of what we see on the field. It's the whole holistic approach, and also the resources and the opportunities to play and perform at a level that is fitting for these individuals. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I'm interested in learning and experiencing some of the flavour. I'm interested in speaking with Anton and seeing what he has to say as well. So it's going to be a real opportunity to develop oneself.
And of course, you have experience in the Caribbean. You took Guyana to the 2019 CONCACAF Gold Cup. And I'm sure you would have heard it yourself, Michael Johnson, about the abundant talent in the Caribbean. But sometimes it seems that we either, and we're not alone in this regard, that we automatically assume that because of the talent that you're going to easily progress to the highest levels. Then that issue of work ethic, and as you said, the hunger and the desire and the willingness to put in all of that hard work. What is your own sense of that ahead of the discussion happening on Saturday, Michael Johnson?
Again, it's sharing experiences, and you're right, talent alone on its own is not enough. There's a whole heap of things. I've seen so many talented individuals that have not made the grade or not performed at the level that they should have reached because of maybe lack of discipline, because of the lack of love for the game. So the talent on its own is not enough, and we will definitely delve deeper on Saturday with some of these discussions around what other things does an individual need outside of his talent to progress to that highest level. And
Anton Corneal, who stands to benefit from Saturday's discussion? It's going to be online, so you've got the world as your audience, essentially. Obviously, coaches, maybe, who knows, maybe agents, maybe players themselves. But from your own point of view, Anton, who really stands to benefit from this exercise?
Fazeer, I think first will be clubs. Clubs will stand to benefit. Of course, their coaches, their coaching staff will benefit from this type of discussion. And I'll go as far as to say member associations, because each member association designs a program hoping to really develop players. And they would recognize, coming out of a session like Saturday, their role and functions when it comes to developing a player. As I said, it's really a matter of all stakeholders, especially in the Caribbean, where we have to depend on our periodization is so different. The players are not with the clubs only all year. So we are dependent on a school system, we are dependent on academies. So it's going to be interesting. All the academy owners, their heads of coach education, their heads of coaching in the academies, their technical directors, they would all benefit because they'll have the ability to ask questions. And some of the answers will be based on experience, not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but from the Caribbean. And again, with Michael's experience of Europe and other parts of the world, I think it's going to be healthy for many different persons.
And I'll ask the same question of Michael Johnson in a moment, but let me ask you, Anton, as to the relevance of the discussion, because sometimes when we have discussions or whatever it might be, somebody might say, well, you know, that might work well in North Carolina, that might work well in Nottingham, that might work well in Frankfurt, but it ain't gonna work here because of this environment and this situation and the internal politics and this, that, and the other. How much of that is factored in to what is going to be presented come Saturday afternoon?
I think a lot of it, because that's our reality. And we have to work in our reality. Now, do we have to live the reality? This is what we are hoping Saturday is going to change some of that reality. That reality may mean, do we need to prepare training programs for longer periods? How do we find ways of exposing the players to better competition? How do we make sure the right leader is in front of those players? And I think that is key. And what's the right leader? What are the characteristics of the right leader? The right person that's going to drive this process. Those are areas that I think will be very beneficial on Saturday as we discuss going forward.
And Michael Johnson, I'm interested in hearing your view on that, because, you know, automatically it will be said, we can't possibly compare with what resources and funding that will be available in a place like the United Kingdom. So how do you bring that into context in a Trinidad and Tobago or a Caribbean context?
It basically boils down to the raw attributes of the individual. You know, we can take money and finances out of it. There's plenty of players that I played with when I was at Jamaica who went on to have established careers over in the UK. First and foremost, Ricardo Gardner springs to mind. And so it doesn't necessarily always have to be about the finances of the game. There has to be, as I've spoken before, that real hunger, that real humility to want to go and learn and want to be the best that you can be. And then doors will open, opportunities will open. Everything else will take care of itself. But let's get the basics right. And the basics around it is player development.
And just on that point, and I know it's themed how to make $1 million footballer, but just taking up from your last point, if you do the basics right, if you do everything properly and with integrity and with that hunger that you've referenced, the money will take care of itself, won't it?
Yes, I mean, I don't have a magic wand to say it definitely will. But what I would say is that there's careers out there for young players who have a real desire and hunger. What level of career that is down to your own skill level, your own talent. And I don't see the talent at the moment, but what I would say is that hard work, determination, and discipline goes a long way.
And then before I give the contact information once again for anyone who would like to register for the event, what's your final thought that you'd like to share with our viewers and listeners this morning?
I would like to just say what a great opportunity to have a discussion or just listening to discussion about the development of players, because too many times we do it in spurts. We develop players in spurts, but the foundation is so important, and to build on it and to remember that while developing a player, we know only 0.02% will become professionals, but we owe players to develop that holistic player, because all of them will play the game of life, and football is just going to be the vehicle, and we need to do our part. And I think our part is what produces better people. Inside of that, hopefully we will get the talented players, give them the right pathway, and they can reach their truest potential. So I think what a great opportunity on Saturday for persons to join us and ask the relevant questions. We all do this together.
Anton Corneal, Michael Johnson, thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for taking the time to be with us this morning. So it's you go to the website www.wired868.com. You can call 714-5278. You could WhatsApp the same number and indeed take advantage of the event that's coming up. How to make $1 million footballer. Presenters Anton Corneal, Michael Johnson, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. comes Saturday, and it should make for a very interesting dialogue. 7:53 in Trinidad and Tobago, and we go to the break with a video submission from a viewer calling it feeding time in the backyard. We've all had these experiences, or at least many of us, with the budgies that are so popular, easy to take care of as well, but it still involves a lot of responsibility as we go to the break.